Have you ever found yourself saying that I want to buy a foreclosure property or I want to find a good deal? But then when you go out on the market, you find that the quote unquote foreclosure properties are priced the same as the regular properties that's on the market. Hmm. So why so many people saying buy foreclosure? Is there something that maybe you don't know? Well, welcome to my YouTube channel. Thank you for coming back. We really appreciate your joining us today. Today, we are talking about how you can buy your first pre-foreclosure property. Again, how you can buy your first pre-foreclosure property here on Life's Lessons by Unica. Let's get started. Okay, so first of all, buying a foreclosure property that you may hear quote unquote on the market is really not a deal that's normally going to be a good deal. Why? Because a foreclosure property is one that has already been to the auction and the current or the previous owner no longer owns it. It has now been bought by the bank, which is why you may hear of something called bank foreclosures or REO, which means real estate owned properties. Those foreclosure properties, again, have already been bought back by the bank, and the bank hires a real estate agent to give them a current market value on the property. And then they price it according to the normal prices that are on the market right now, according to the condition of like properties in the same condition as the foreclosure property, quote unquote. So why are people asking you to buy foreclosure properties? You have something to learn today, and you've come to the right place. Again, we thank you for joining us here at Life's Lessons by Unica. Here you're going to learn something today about pre-foreclosure. Could that be the kind of foreclosure property that you are wondering about, that you have been asking about, but just did not know that that was the proper term for it? A pre-foreclosure property is before it has been sold at the auction. Hence, the bank does not own it, and the owner still owns the property. It is just in default, meaning that the current owner has been behind in their payments to their lender 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months, 9 months. And it is that time that you want to get in contact with the owner. Between that second month of being late and that ninth month of being late or longer. Okay? So let's talk about it. How are you going to know that the owner is behind in their mortgage payment? Isn't that kind of a private thing? If you don't pay a bill on time, you are usually the one that knows it and the creditor, correct? So how is it that the public can get to know about a pre-foreclosure property that's not listed on the market? How can you get to know that? Well, you'll be, I won't say happy to know, or should I say sad to know, because if it was you, you would be sad to know this, right? But certainly being a person who's trying to be a first time pre-foreclosure property purchaser, then you're probably happy to know this news I'm getting ready to tell you. Listen up, get your pen and paper. Let's start taking some notes. Are you ready? All right, this is how they're going to know. Did you know that this information is sold? Did you know that this is actually public record information? When you are behind, and when I say you, I'm not talking about you in particular, I'm talking about those who are behind in their mortgage. When that person, that homeowner, is behind in their mortgage payment, that information gets eventually sent to an attorney who is called a trustee. The trustee is the attorney for the homeowner's lender's, or should I say the homeowner's mortgage company. All right. So it's their mortgage company's attorney. And again, it's called the trustee. So when it's late, the lender contacts the trustee, and the trustee starts to send notices to the homeowner. Okay. So those notices, they send them to the homeowner, send them to the homeowner, send them to the homeowner. And unfortunately, this information also gets sold publicly. Did you know that there are lists circulating out there for all of the homeowners who are delinquent on their mortgage? This is why so many investors get to contact you, because there are lists out there that investors buy so that they know that you are behind. Because once you're behind, like I said, these notices, see, they get sent to you and they get to be public record. All right, when you're late like that on your mortgage, or when I'm late, if I'm late on my mortgage, right? You see, that kind of thing, right? Because I'm certainly not exempt. If I'm late on my mortgage, then my information will be made public as well, right? Now, there's another way that you, if you are an investor, and I'm speaking to the first time investors, the ones who are just getting started, trying to get that, they thought it was called foreclosure, but it's a pre-foreclosure property, right? This is what you want to look out for. Years ago, we used to be able to go to the Washington Times paper if you're in the District of Columbia, and they would publish it in the newspaper. You can also find this if you type in auctions. Now, if you happen to be in the Washington, D.C. area, you can look up alexcooper.com or Google Alex Cooper Auctioneers, because they also have, for this DMV area, they have properties that are going to be sold on the market. All right, going to be sold on the market. And when I say going to be sold on the market, I'm talking about on the auction market, not on the public. This is not known to the public. The public who have properties on the MLS or on Zillow, this information is not published on the MLS. Zillow does have a space for foreclosures, but even those foreclosures are the real estate owned foreclosures, right? More than likely, it's not the pre-foreclosures, okay? All right, that you see on Zillow. It's not the pre-foreclosures, okay? So the only way you're going to find these, again, is that if you have a local newspaper, then normally in the local newspaper, you have to look for the subheading that says, now you writing this down? Look for the subheading in the newspaper that says trustee sales, okay? Now, if your newspaper also has a website, which now in these day and time they do, then you can go online and look for the trustee sales section of your newspaper, all right? Now, if you happen to be one of the ones that look, or you find your local auctioneer, like here locally is alexcooper.com, but here locally is also, we have another one if you're in the DMV area, that's called Ashland Auctions. Ashland Auctions. Ashland Auctions also has these pre-foreclosure or trustee sales that are listed on their site as well, right? So what they do is these trustee sales are posted with these auctioneer houses, okay? But guess what? A lot of these trustees or attorneys for the lender, okay, they have their own website sometimes also. So if you know the local trustees, which are attorneys who handle, and if you look it up in the public records, you'll see the name of the attorney that's for this pre-foreclosure property, and you happen to Google that attorney, they may have a website that shows the date of the trustee sale, okay? Well, why do you care about the date of the trustee sale? Okay. Well, you can do one of two things. One is you know how much time you have. If you can even go to talk, if your area, now check with your jurisdiction. Some jurisdictions no longer allow us to go directly to the homeowner to negotiate. Okay. Again, I'm going to repeat myself. You check with your jurisdiction because some jurisdictions do not allow us to go directly to the homeowners anymore to let them know that they have a pre-foreclosure or their property is getting ready to get auctioned off. A lot of times we cannot go, so check with your jurisdiction on that. So, but if your area allows you to go to the homeowner, then you could choose to go to the homeowner, let the homeowner know, were you aware that your home is coming up for auction on this particular date and time? You know, do you have a plan A in mind, right, of what you're going to do, right? Have you contacted your lender? Have you contacted the trustee or the attorney for the lender, right? You ask them because you're trying to help them, right? Right? That's the first thing. Nobody wants to get kicked out of the house, right? And then if they don't have a plan A and they say, look, I'm moving, I'm getting up out of here, right? Right? Then maybe you could negotiate something that they're willing to sell it to you before it goes to auction, right? Now, I would recommend to find out, a lot of times the good idea to find out what is the payoff amount. A lot of times if you find that ad that's in the paper or online that can tell you about the trustee sale, and if you call the phone number, some of the trustees will tell you what the payoff amount is, because it should be there. We used to call it a cure amount. What's the amount to cure the property or bring it current? But at that time, a lot of times they want the whole thing. Okay, so you might not be able to cure it, but you never know. I don't assume anything. You never know. They may let you cure it, okay? Which means you bring a certain amount current, then they will let the property go back to the owner for the owner to be able to sell to you. Again, it's not like it's taken from the owner, but it's just, again, it's not taken from the owner until it's sold. But I'm just saying, a lot of times they may give a break if you can cure it, okay? Or you can find out what the whole payoff amount is, because maybe you can negotiate something with the owner that you can pay the cure amount, right? And then be able to work out some kind of creative financing that maybe the seller can take back a note, or maybe you could do, because they're now doing something called subject twos and all of these sorts of things that you can do research on to find out how you can negotiate with the seller, okay? However, getting back to the point, it's between that second month and afterwards, that, or at least before the foreclosure sale, okay, or before the auction, right? Now, if the owner says to you, if your area allows you to go to him, he says, well, I'm getting ready to pay it, or make it current, all right, then of course, then you know it's not going to be going up on the pre-foreclosure sale, all right? But just keep an eye, okay? All right, so just keep that in mind. Now, let's just say that the property does go to the auction, right? What are some things that you want to be wary of? Do you have your paper? Are you taking notes? Are you ready? I'm going to give you some really hot stuff now, because you want to be careful, all right? Now, while these a lot of times are very good deals that you can get on the auction, all right? Because your sell price is, so you know, the starting bid price is usually 10% of the outstanding loan balance. Okay, is usually 10% of the outstanding loan balance, which is the deposit, is what you have to put down. Now, if a lot of people do not show up for that auction, guess who gets to make the bid? You and whoever's there, right? So, what are some things that you want to be weary of? Number one, you ready? Are there any liens on the property other than the mortgage? Are there any other liens? Because if there are two mortgages on the property and the one that's in first position is the one that's going to auction, well, what about the second trust? Pay attention to the ad that's advertising the trustee sale to let you know whether or not that sale is subject to the second trust, which means that that has to also be paid. So pay attention to the ad. Don't get overly excited. All right, pay attention to when you're reading the ad. Is it also subject to a second trust or a second lien? All right, right? Second lien or second trust means a second mortgage. All right, because it might have a second mortgage balance. Okay. Now the second thing that you want to do, be wary of, is it could be other liens on the property. There could be mechanics liens, which means that contractors have worked on the property before and they weren't paid off. It could also be other tax liens that could be very outstanding. That could be property tax liens that are outstanding, right? It could be a clean it or lien it, and they probably got a lien on there from not cleaning the property, having high grass and mail and trash in the property, and the city or the jurisdiction put a lien on their property and the city cleaned it. So it could have a number of liens. What about the water bill? You know, the water bill attaches to the property. It could have a lien on the water bill and may owe an outstanding amount of water. Well, what about also if it's inside of a HOA or a homeowners association or a condo association? Because some condos look like townhouses, right? Is that up to date? Check this information out, people. Pay attention, see what's going on. All right, see what you owe or what could be owed, right? Now, a lot of times you are not able to get in to inspect the property before you go to the auction. So a lot of times you're not going to know the condition of inside of the property. Because 90% of the time, probably more than that, the person has to really like you that's living there to allow you to come inside and take a look at the property when they know they're up for foreclosure. I mean, that usually doesn't happen too often, all right? Now, if tenants are in the property, sometimes you can, again, depending on the jurisdiction, you can let them know, did you know that the property was coming up for foreclosure, if you are a real estate agent like myself, you could say, well, I'm a real estate agent, and if you need any help to find a place, I'll be more than happy to help you. What were your plans, by the way? Were you thinking of staying, right? And if you were thinking of staying, right, do you mind continuing to be my tenant, right? So if you wanted to continue to hold the property, right, and have them there, maybe they're great tenants. Maybe they've been there for a long time. Maybe they will continue to want to stay there, right? It's just a case by case basis, right? But if the tenant is there, right, and you have income coming in, then that's going to work good for whoever your lender is, and we haven't gotten to that part yet. Okay, so let's get back to the point. All right, so these are some things that are caveats, because guess what? If it's a tenant in the property, and the tenant does not want you to come into the property, or if there's an owner living in the property and they refuse to move out, and you go to the auction and you buy that property, or you are the winning bidder, and then you have about 30 to 45 days to close, depending on where you live. It could be 30 days, could be 45. You have to check what the ad says and what your jurisdiction says, okay, for how long you have to go to closing. Check with the auctioneers, whoever the trustee is doing that trustee sale, whoever that attorney is doing that sale, okay? So you want to check with them. All right. Now, some places have the auction outside at the courthouse. Or sometimes you'll see in the paper it's called a sheriff's sale. So sometimes it might not be called a trustee sale. Sometimes it's called a sheriff's sale. Okay? Or sometimes it's outside of the courthouse. So just any of those names in the ad, okay, is what you're looking for. But what I'm saying is if the owner does not want to move out after you have won the bid and after you have gone to closing, guess what? You're going to have to go to court as if they were your tenant to be able to evict them, right? You see? Unless you just want to hold on to the property and just let them stay there without paying you anything, you know. So, but again, that could take time. That could take money. You see, do you have your resources in order to do that? So although you're getting the property for a decent discounted price, it's not a discount if you have not factored all of those things in. Let's say you have outstanding property taxes. Let's say you do have a second mortgage. Let's say you do have a mechanics lien. Let's say you do have a cleaner a lien. Let's say you do have a water lien. Let's say you do have a owner that doesn't want to leave. Now you got expenses that's going to pile up, right? Now also you want to keep in mind that when you are buying these foreclosures, these pre-foreclosure properties, a lot of times they do need work. A lot of times they do need work or need something, right? Do you have a budget set aside to be able to handle repairs, to be handle renovations, to make the property livable? Because I'm going to tell you, here's another caveat. Are you writing this down? A lot of these homeowners whose property is going up for foreclosure sale, they rip out the plumbing pipes. I've seen so many houses that were foreclosures that the owner had ripped out the copper piping, ripped out other piping, just parts of it. Any part of it is just horrible, right? They have ripped out certain parts of the HVAC. They have ripped out certain parts of the appliances. Refrigerator might be gone. Stove might be gone. Certain holes might be in the wall. They could be angry. Might be angry that they had to leave. You see? And so if you haven't been in the property and you walk in there and that's what you see, oh my goodness, right? And then also you want to account for any kind of rodents, any kind of pests that may be in the property, right? So you have to, and then there's going to be inspections. That's going to be, if you, depending on what kind of situation you have, you got to pay for an appraisal, right? You got to pay for closing costs because wherever you live, the title company, whoever your lender is, whatever kind of lender you use, we're going to talk about that in a minute. There's also other costs that you're going to have that you have to pay with respects to the county where you live or the city where you live as well. So the title company, lender, city, county have to be paid, right? In addition to those reports that I was saying when you go to closing. So there are fees, even though you're talking about getting that good deal. I want to foreclose your property, but like I said, it's called pre-foreclosure. There are risks that you have in mind. Now, have we found good deals when we bought foreclosure properties? Absolutely. Absolutely. But we absolutely did the work that I'm telling you now. I did all of that kind of homework. Now, last but not least, make sure that if you're not a realtor, get some kind of realtor somewhere that can run some numbers for you. Or even check Zillow. Check Zillow in your area. Okay? Check Zillow. All right? Pull the comps in the area. Now, the comps that you're going to see from Zillow is probably going to be renovated prices. Okay? They're probably going to be renovated. All right? So you can't go off of that. So what you got to do, you got to take that high price from Zillow and I want you to multiply it times 0.70 or multiply it times 70%. All right? Then I want you to minus repair costs. I want you to allocate in your repair costs pretending that you do have to replace the electrical, that you do have to replace the plumbing, that you do have to replace the HVAC system, which stands for your HVAC. You have your heating, ventilation, air conditioning is what HVAC stands for. Okay, heating, ventilation, air conditioning, HVAC. So again, pretend that you have to replace those things, right? Pretend that you have to replace the roof. Put that on your budget, that you have to replace the roof. All right. Pretend that there is an issue with pests. All right, that you got to put in a whole new kitchen, a whole new bathroom, and that you have to update, all your finishings and your floors, your walls, if there's kind of any environmental issues, mold, asbestos. Put that in your budget any old way. Okay. Then also put into your budget at least 12 months of holding costs. What is that? So let's say, for instance, you decide, now we're going to talk about it. You decide that you're going to use a hard money lender. See, a hard money lender doesn't care about your credit. They care about the deal that you're getting. All right. Are you getting it at a good price based on the after repair amount? So you got the after repair amount minus, what did I say? I multiply times what? 70% minus your repair expenses, right? If you need a contractor to come through there with you to give you some numbers, and then, again, they're not going to be able to come through the property, but if you need them to give you some numbers to give the synopsis that I just told you about, to replace the whole roof, to replace all your bathrooms, all your kitchen if you have more than one kitchen, all your bedroom, your floors, your walls. So let's pretend that you got to, you might have to allocate for the fact that you might have some holes in the walls, your electrical being redone, your plumbing being redone, your HVAC system being redone. If it does not have central air conditioning and it has a radiating heat, then your boiler having to be redone. You got thermostats, you got having to put in all your appliances and all of these sorts of things, your flooring. And so put these things in your budget just in case. Just put it in there anyway. Minus it off. And so again, you take the after repair value that's in Zillow, multiply times 70%, and then you minus out all of your repairs. Okay, right? All your renovations that you're gonna have to do. And when that number right there that you come up with, don't go over that number at the auction. Do not go over that number at the auction. Period. Don't do it. You don't do it. So if after you get the property and you happen to get it at your price point, and you find out that there is no need for a new roof and that there is no need for updated appliances and updated electrical and all that, then great. That's money back in your pocket. But it's much better if you paid too much for the property, and my goodness, it becomes like an alligator and keeps biting at you. So remember, you make your money when you buy it. You make your money when you buy it. So that's the caveat for the pre-foreclosures. Now, if you are the winning bidder, or if you happen to go to the auction, you're going to have to put up, like I said, 10% of the loan amount. And they're usually going to tell you what how much that is in order to be able to bid. Okay. These days that we're living in, a lot of them are not going in person and they're bidding online. Right. So again, it just depends on where you live, who the trustee is, what the sheriff's sale is, whatever that sale is, and what the instructions are in the ad. Okay. You got to find the ad. All right. All right. Now, whatever that says, that's going to be what's going to start your bidding process, for you to be able to bid. All right. Read everything. Don't assume nothing. Do your homework. Again, as a first-time pre-foreclosure purchaser, you want to do it right. So now that you know what it is to buy your first pre-foreclosure property, go out there and get them. Now remember, it's going to ask you, YouTube is going to ask you to watch this next video. So do that. That's another one that you're going to benefit from. Okay? All right. So thank you so much for stopping by to Life Lessons by Unica. And I can't wait to talk to you again. for another lesson learned. You have a great day.